Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another great interview here on our YouTube channel. I want to start by shouting out a couple of patrons. Matt Punton here. Been with us since the early days, just bumped it up. And when you bump it up, you get a shout out. Also, brand new Nick Gomez. Nick Gomez is a new patron. Do you want to be shouted out for the world to see on the YouTube? Get on the Patreon train, guys. I'll say at the end of this video all the fun stuff you get with Patreon, but I will remind you that for as little as $2 a month, you get access to all the fun hidden stuff we have there and a lot of other great stuff too. On today's program, Corinna Coffin. You probably just watched Spartan Games episode 3. If you haven't, go over there and watch that. But even if you haven't, you can watch this. It's not going to ruin your experience. You will learn a lot about what Corinna did to get through the wrestling and through the marathon run plus 5-hour run thing they had. Let's get to it. Away we go. Corinna Coffin, episode 3, Spartan Games, featuring Corinna crying by a tree.
That is the feature. That is the highlight reel.
And Corinna with a towel on her head.
I'm really glad they captured me at my finest. So I remember that. And it's funny, I said this on a podcast or on a little interview this morning with Spartan, but I was like, it is actually a little bit of a miracle that they even caught me on camera with the towel, because that means I showered, which means I had to walk 200 yards to the showers after that 6-hour ultra. And let me tell you, it was the longest walk of my life after that event. So the fact that I made it to the shower, decided, you know what, I am going to shower tonight, despite how much pain I'm in. You know, that's a big deal.
Can you slightly tilt the computer just so we can see your head? Because if we do a screenshot later, I can a little more, it's a tiny bit more. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Perfect. Little pro tip. I put mine on a little box or something.
I put it on a box. All right.
You did put it on a box?
On a box, but it's not a high box.
Good for you. Well, I thought it was funny because you guys were all watching Grant, and so it was cute, but then they did an interview with you and you still kept it on. So I'm like, She doesn't give a fuck.
I actually gave 0 fucks during that time, but they were like, Corinna, can we interview? And I was just like, looked down at my robe, which I bought specifically on Amazon for this event that was on our checklist, and no one else seemed to have brought a robe, but I was so cold after the run, and the ice bath I took after. So I was freezing, and they asked me to interview me, and I was like, and I was like going to take my towel off, and they were like, no, it's cool, keep it on. And I was like, all right, cool, I got it. Whatever.
They probably had a towel on, a robe on everybody's checklist just because they didn't want people walking around you know what I mean? They didn't want, in case it got weird, they didn't want that because they knew people were going to be all close quarters.
Well, funny, because I spent 30 minutes on Amazon finding a good robe. So I was like, if I'm going to buy a robe, I want to find a good robe. Then I had no space left in my suitcase on my way home, so I had to leave it there.
So now Joe's kids.
I gave it to Nathan Rackett, so I hope he still has it.
Oh,
looking after it.
Okay. I thought maybe Joe would give it to one of his kids or something.
I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, that was nice. It was pretty enjoyable for me to laugh at myself.
So did you so you did watch the show last night?
I did, yes.
And what are your immediate thoughts on the program aside of your own performance? What did you think about the overall show?
I liked it. I liked that it was an hour. I felt like, it might not have been the most exciting of all the episodes, but I felt like it, it was nice to see everyone. Sorry, that's my interview time with you. But it was nice to see everyone. It was nice to get footage of everyone. They really did a good job of showing a lot of the matchups, which I thought was good. And even if people thought it was, it's hard because I feel like Spartan's trying to listen to people who are some people just want highlight reels, and then some people want the whole thing. And so they're trying to find this happy medium between the two. And I respect that. So I liked it. I thought, they showed some of the running as best they could. And it was fun to see some of the guys and the other girls run and look I thought everyone felt my way. This is so painful. I'm done. I'm dead. And then everyone finished across the finish line. They were so happy. That was the longest I've ever run. Woo. And then meanwhile, I'm in tears. Don't ever make me do that again. And it was kind of funny. It was oh, no one else was really hurting or crying that bad. But I think we'll see for day 4, people are definitely woke up with a lot of pain, in a lot of pain. I mean.
Yeah, one might assume like, oh, well, Corinna is, she's done OCR, she could probably run, but that was that's probably the longest you've run in how long?
That's that's the longest I've run like I did World's Toughest Mudder 2015. It didn't last very long, but I like, from 2 p.m. to midnight, but it was very slow and had the obstacles to break it up. But this was long for me, and it was very taxing because I had to get every place I could. I didn't want to do the what ifs. Like if the next day, however it unfolded, I didn't want to look back and be like, gosh, maybe I could have been in this place if I had just done a little better. So I didn't want to leave it to chance on the last day having regrets. And so, and the way that the uphill worked on that course was you could see switchbacks all the time. So you could see girls, and they always seemed a little bit closer than they were, but I had girls on my tail the whole time. And I just could not let up. And I was in a lot of pain. And I kept thinking, oh, maybe I can just do the minimum 3 laps. But then girls would be on my ass, and I had more time. And I was like, gosh, I have to go out for another one. I have to go out for another one. And so, thinking I could maybe be done at 3 and then going through 5, it was just mentally and emotionally really taxing too.
Can you enlighten us on the terrain? They made a very big deal of the biking being harder than they had initially explained. The running looked to me like, running trails at Joe's Mountain. Kellen, the marathoner, said basically it was unsafe and the worst thing she's ever done. And so I want to know what that downhill was like from your perspective.
Yeah, the downhill was where I had got all the pain essentially. So the downhill, like my knees were so not happy. Like it was so steep where you couldn't just bomb it straight down. You had to sidestep, or maybe Ryan Atkins was bombing it straight down, but like you got to a point where there's so many leaves, and and the amount of times I tripped during that run, like and like I fell really hard one time, like in the first lap, I like ripped my pants on my knees, and like getting up from that and trying to run again after like hour 3, I was like, I felt like an old woman, like wow, I fall, I don't know if I can get back up. So bombing it down those really steep downhills with all those leaves, having like rocks and stumps that could come up, like you end up just putting a lot of pressure on your quads and sidestepping it. And that's where my knee would just took a lot of load. And it was like that for miles. So not to quite, I'm not complaining to Kellen's extent. Like, that's not her jam at all. I'm more used to that. But so the course is what it,
I guess I just saw it, and this is what I'm asking for is like, here's my personal judgment of it.
uh-huh.
Mike Wardian weighs about 8 pounds and is not complaining about any event. He gives it his all. He's a fucking sport. You know what I mean? And she was a little bit like, what's this? Well, that's not even a course. Stupidest thing I ever done. Like, and again, like never met her. Don't want to judge too horribly, but like that's sort of in my mind where I go. If like you got one guy who's definitely not prepared to do half this stuff, willing to give it his all, and then you have this woman complaining a lot, and in like kind of
by day 3, she's probably really frustrated at this point where it's like she thought she was coming to something where she could do well in some things, and nothing has been in her wheelhouse, like literally nothing. And this was the opportunity to like for her to excel, and it was a really out of her element from a trail running standpoint. So I think we have, and on day 3, there are a lot of emotions. We're tired, we're sore, we're a little bit fed up with some stuff, and 6 months, so I can I don't know. I'm going to cut her a little bit slack there. She didn't have the best attitude with that. I agree. But at the same time, I don't think that, I think everyone had their moments throughout the weekend.
I think that's very fair, Corinna. Very, very, that was very, what do you call it? Fair of you. So let's talk about the wrestling.
Okay.
Wrestling starts. You're looking around. You see Faith, you see Sam. You're like, I can probably take most of these girls. Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, the night before, you kind of see like everyone's trying to like practice a little bit. I was stuck to Andy's side until he went to bed. Like I was in that barn. Everyone had left.
Andy was the ref and the wrestling guy.
He's amazing, but he was like there. He was like, I'll stay and give people tips or whatnot. So like some people stayed after, some people left, and I just like listened to him talking to people. I had some questions of my own. I stayed there. Faith was still there. I was like, I'm not leaving until Faith's leaving. Like, if she's getting the extra insight, she doesn't, like, she's got some mass behind her. So, like, I want to hear everything that all the competitors are getting too. So I stayed till the very end and, like, made sure I was nervous because I don't have any moves really. So it's just kind of figuring out, I don't know, different tactics, that you can just pick up really quickly. But I knew I think Emma did wrestle. Like, I think she was on a wrestling team. Oh, she played rugby. So I knew Emma was going to be a really big challenge. And I also knew Faith, just with her mass and, her, she's a tough girl. So I knew those two would be big, my biggest challenge.
It seemed as though everybody must have been coached to do a lot with their hands, because it seemed like most people were kind of doing that. And again, I'm outside looking in. There were a couple of times I think Emma got you or some other people got other people just by kind of moving out of the way, because if you do that and use the other person's force against you, you can get them to step out. So what were you thinking when you went in hand to hand there with Emma, for example? And you went against her twice, right?
I went against her twice. It was hard because, first moment you touch the ground, you're out. So it's like, you kind of need the hand to help stabilize you, make contact without, like, if you just go in for someone, yeah, they could just move to the side or pull you down and have you touch the ground. And then that's that. So I think everyone was a little bit cautious of, I think there was a lot of hands involved because you really couldn't use a whole lot else without potentially touching the ground. Even if you weren't, getting pulled down there, if you touch, then you start over, right? A new point. So I wish there would have been some ground game. I think that would have been really cool. Kind of like, right? Like 90 seconds, whatever, first person to get out of the pit, to move someone out of the pit, like, or you touch outside the pit first and you lose.
Right.
I like that. But
little ground and pound action.
Yeah.
But so that's my question to you. Did you ever think as a strategy, I can move out of the way, or I can use this person's force against me? Like, or did you just go on instinct once you got in the fucking pit?
Yeah, no, going against Faith, that was my plan. I was like, okay, I can get low, but I also, like, if she's coming at me, I can maybe use her mass to bring her down to the ground. So yeah, I scored 2 points against her. I don't think anyone else either gave her a try or scored against her. So I was happy about that. But yeah, she got me.
So were you second overall?
No, that was the frustrating part. I was fourth, and I think Christy O'Connell did a great job, but we never got to match up. And I think I was the third. Like, in all honesty, I think Faith and then Emma and I were, she won one, I won one. But because of how the losers bracket and the winners bracket matched up, Christy got to go against Emma to decide who came in third. And it was the winner. So it was the winner of me and Emma Chapman on that second time would go against Christy to determine who got third and second.
So wait, but you were in the winners bracket.
I was in the, and then Emma was in the losers bracket. So I think that's why.
So, right. So you had to go against her again. I mean,
I won against her the first time. Then I lost to Faith. So then I moved down to the losers bracket.
Oh, got it. So you had,
but either way, I just know that, like, all of a sudden I'm in fourth place, and Lindsay, with her matchups, she did really well. So we finished fourth and fifth. And
that crushes you because you need to get some distance between you and Lindsay.
I was like thinking, I was really excited going to the wrestling, and I knew Lindsay was really, like, kind of terrified of it a little bit. And so I was like, great, we're gonna have some separation here. And then sure enough, we're only 3 points apart with how that all worked out. So I was bummed that I didn't have the chance to grab at least third on that one, because I felt like that was deserving. But anyway, that's just how it worked out. So got to run with it.
Yeah, poor Atkins went against the third place and second place guy and got 0.
I know,
because of his draw. So they did it by they did the seating by how you were at that time.
Yeah, by your placement on the leaderboard. So,
but was it typical, like 1 against 12 and 2 against 11?
Yeah.
Like
Faith went up against Kellen. That's why that matchup was chosen, even though you're like, this doesn't seem right. But yeah, I believe they did that. And then there were a couple people with buys. Yeah, I think I got a bye for the first round of wrestling because 12 people, need 16 people for a good bracket like that. But because there's 12, 4 people get buys. for that first round. I
Right,
think.
because even Aaron won a couple matches and did better
I
than
know.
Ryan. It's just luck of the draw.
I know it is. So that was frustrating about it because I felt like the end result didn't accurately reflect potential, like, what truly it should have, but you can only do so much.
How much time was there between wrestling and running?
I think we did the wrestling. We had some lunch. Wrestling was pretty early. I think we had 2 hours.
Looked very cold.
It was so cold for us. And then the guys went afterwards and the sun comes out. Our feet were so, like, it was one of those things where we wrestled in the pit. We'd get off, step on something cold. Like, I think Rhea was so cold she had to go inside, and like she took an L just because she didn't want to get, and like she's got really bad circulation in her hands and feet. But like, it was that cold where it was like, oh my God, my feet are numb. I can't move it. The only thing that's distracting you is now you got to take down your opponent, so you forget about the feet.
You know that Rhea told me she barely takes any nutrition or hydration, like even in a 24-hour race. And it's like, oh my, like, what are you doing?
Oh man, we need to chat.
I know. Talk to her about that. So the bike ends, the wrestling ends, the running starts. And again, in your mind, are you like, I just need as few places between Lindsay and I as possible. So I know Lindsay and Nicole and Rhea are probably going to take this, and I need to just stay up with those guys. Or what was your thought going into the running?
Well, I took off on the run and I found myself in like 8th place. Like, I was counting off the bat. Like, we went up this big steep hill and I was like in 8th, and I was like, shit. I mean, no, it's super early on, but I was like, you can't be hanging back here. But I also had like, I know my pacing. I'm really good at pacing myself, and I know what's too much and what's, when I'm sandbagging. And I was like, this is a long race. I can't be like getting wound up right now. But I did this is where I did do some math. I was like, I am in 8th place. I need to claw my way up a little bit. So I'd pass like someone and then be like, okay, don't let them pass you again. Like, keep chipping people off. And then once I got moved up, I think I moved up to 5th. But every time I pick someone off, I'd be like, okay, they're going to stay back there. You better go. And it was just really like, it did not let up the whole time. So that's where all the emotions came from after.
Quick interruption to tell you that you can get something for one of your favorite OCR buddies with a really cool Run OCR shirt that we sell on our Store Frontier account. That's storefrontier.com/ORM. We have some other fun things on there like ORM and Spartan things, which is my personal favorite. Back to the interview. Well, and Nicole dipped after 4, so that had to make you feel good.
That's right. Yeah, it did help me. Yeah. And she was so cute. She was called out, so then she ran up with me after I passed the transition area, and she was like talking to me as I was like going up this giant ass hill, and I was power walking up it. And she's like, how are you feeling? What are you doing? And then I was just like, I really don't want to do 5 laps. So she's like, well, so-and-so is going to do, like, she's like, Rhea is going to do 6 laps. She'll be out here all day. Like, she's going to go. And Rhea was behind me at the time. And I was like, well, shit, she can have it. Like, I don't want, but then she was kind of telling me a little bit of tactics. But then I was also like trying to just not to disclose too much information to her in case she was talking to someone else behind me and giving them like, well, Corinna's really hurt. And so like, I was trying to, trying not to let people know that like I was hurting so badly, but I really wasn't trying to do more than I had to. And was just praying like that. When I got in, I think it was taking me a little bit under an hour per lap. So I was just really praying I didn't have to do a 6 lap and come in right under that 6-hour mark.
So if you had done one, it wouldn't have changed your place?
No, I wouldn't have had time because I was hurting so badly on my 5th lap. It took me an hour 15. So I think when I got, when I passed, I think I had an hour to do, or a little less than an hour before the 6 o'clock cutoff. And the time chip people were like, you're not going to have time based on if you're like average or your last lap, like you have to go a lot quicker this last lap. And I was like, well, that's definitely not happening.
So you go to the Body Armor Lounge and Mike says, okay, we're going to do King of the Mountain. You don't know what that is. And then we're going to do another DECA, and then we're going to do another obstacle race.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to bed thinking, yay, boo, somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, I guess. I think King of the Mountain, I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like, we're going to run uphill again. Cause I knew that they were like, we're going to have us do a heavy vertical ruck. And so I was like, am I even going to be able to move when I wake up? Cause my body was stiffening up that night. And I was, like I said, a lot of pain. I was like, this is going to be very interesting to see if my legs will even work in the morning. I was excited about the Deca Strong. I knew Lindsay's had struggled a little bit in the first one, even. So I knew Deca, like the Deca heavy would not be up her alley. And then the OCR course, like we were fairly close on the first day. She got me in the running, but this one's now cut in half. So 3 laps on the obstacle course, 1 trail run. So I'm going in feeling pretty good about that. So I going into this last day, I was like, I think I've got to, like, this is really good for me. I feel good. I feel excited. So, yeah, but I was just, like I took so much Advil. I took so much Advil the night before. And then in the morning, Lindsay and I were sleeping right next to each other. So I like look over her in the morning and I see her like pulling herself out of bed and like limping. And I'm like, oh, good. Cause I was hobbling everywhere, but I'm just like, oh, she's taking Advil. Okay. Like she's got to be hurting. So like we were all in survival mode that last morning. Like just, okay, how we feeling, everyone? Okay, good. We're all hurting. But and then as you guys saw, like there's rain on the last day. It's slick. It's pouring during the first event. So lots of excitement for that last day.
Do you sculpt? Do you use a gun? What do you do when you wake up in the morning to get those muscles moving?
I think I used Nicole's foam roller a little bit. I did some stretching. I used the Normatec boots from Jared Shoemaker the night before. It's really nice of him to let me borrow them. I put my feet up vertically, just lying back on my cot. Honestly, I didn't move much. I was just like, all right, hopefully my body's going to be ready to just go into this because I'm not trying to warm up, not trying to really warm up, stretch. Like at this point, just let's see if my body can just do what it can do at that time. Like there was not much warm up, especially because it was raining and we were hobbling everywhere. So it was just kind of like, all right, what do you have left in the tank, Corinna?
All right. Well, we're all very excited to watch next Wednesday's episode, the big finale. One more question before you go. This concept of teams, we saw the whiteboard come out with teams, and we actually figured out, somebody actually figured out who's on whose team. And so we'll be posting that for people. But can you explain the point of it? And because there's money involved. So can you explain?
Yeah, so I'm not really, I wish they'd done something a little bit more maybe with teams, and maybe that's something they do in the future when they have more time. But they basically they randomly drew 2 guys, 2 girls, put them on a team, and just took their total points and smashed them all together to decide what was the winning team. And the winning team, I think, got 10K total, split between everyone.
Do you think it was because maybe they thought if some people are at the bottom, they might give up on day 3 or 4, and let's do this to keep everybody in it? Do you think that's why they did it?
I think that's yeah. I do think it was something where it's like there's still incentive for everyone, even on the last day, because people, depending on where they stack up in the middle, like they can wedge between, like if someone finishes between, Lindsay and I need people to finish between me and Lindsay on the Deca Strong. So it's like, yeah, don't give up, guys. Like keep working hard. So yeah, that I think was a good strategy, and I think that was maybe what their incentive behind it was. I think also to kind of build some of the camaraderie between the competitors. I think a lot of people didn't know. I knew some people there, but I think a lot of people were coming in like, I have no clue who these people are. So on the first day, it was kind of fun to like, oh, Kurt's on my team. Like, what's up, Kurt? And, we hang out a little bit, or we like, we try to get to know each other a little bit better than maybe just trying to get to know everyone, which is takes a little bit of time over the course of 4 days. So yeah, I don't know, build a little camaraderie, get some team spirit in there, and keep people trying hard throughout.
All right, Corinna, thanks for coming on. People can they be coached by you or just be nutritioned by you? What do you offer people? We can promote you right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do some nutrition coaching. Not fairly limited in space right now with who I can take on, but I am still taking on some people. So yeah, they can reach out to me on Instagram. I've got my website on my link too, so in my bio. So yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Corinna. As we go into the final day, Corinna is currently in second place behind Lindsay. Let's see how she does. Let's all watch Spartan's event next Wednesday. Let's all watch Spartan's video next Wednesday to see the exciting conclusion of the Spartan Games. Oh, also, yeah, join the Patreon. Patreon members get exclusive early access content. They get exclusive Patreon-only content. They get fun stuff like our gift exchange we did this year. Oh, yeah, it's a good time. Do you love ORM? Are these videos free and awesome for you, except you have to watch a 5 or 10-second ad once in a while? Awesome. Join the Patreon. Links in the thing below or patreon.com/obstacle racing media. Love you, miss you, mean it. I have got to run.